Welcome to episode 15 of the Gingerspyce Tiefling Druid. In this episode, I'm going to be doing A Sharn Welcome, and I am level 15. And I have spent hours this morning performing the headache that is called Loot Tetris. If you don't know that term, it means, moving your gear around because something new came out and you want to try to fit it into your gear set, and then you have to spend hours trying to figure out how are you going to recraft this item to make sure you got that stat and move this item over there and get a different item to replace this thing. And so I'm spending hours doing that, so hopefully you don't have to, or at least you get a better idea of what you want to, try for in terms of your gear. So before I look at the gear, which is usually where I start, I'm going to talk about the enhancements first, because there's an enhancement that affects spell power, which we'll be talking about when we're doing gear. And that is this guy right here, Infernal Sovereign Cold. So it says you use your fire spell power in place of your cold spell power if it is higher, and vice versa. So whatever's higher, fire or cold, they both act as that higher spell power, which is pretty cool. So I can focus on fire, and my cold will be just as good, or I can focus on cold, and my fire will be just as good. I could have also done that for electric if I wanted to. Or acid. Acid wouldn't really probably make as much sense, but then again, we do have 2 acid dots, and later on Storm of Vengeance, so it's 3 acid spells, and our cold spells would be like, Ice Storm, and then Greater Creeping Cold, and then Ice Flowers later on. Okay, so I wanted to mention Infernal Sovereign Cold, and then I also picked up Improved Scorch. I can't remember if I had this last time. This is enemies affected by your Scorch, which is the the SLA, the fire SLA in the tree. It increases their fire damage they take by 5%. When cast on a creature that is immune to fire, it makes them vulnerable to that element for a short period of time. It's actually really short. It's only a few seconds. But nonetheless, if you're really having a hard time hitting mobs that are immune to fire, you can hit that. And then I get Incineration, which is an additional 2 spell critical chance with all spells, plus an additional 2% with fire spells. I really, really wish this was not only spell power, but also crit chance that could substitute, whichever was higher. But unfortunately, it's just spell power. There's nothing new in the other trees right now. So let's talk about gear. This is how, prior to Sharn, I was running. And it may be how I continue to run. We'll see, because I'm not totally sold on the new gear set. And so I'll mention, first I want to go over everything that I would have normally otherwise worn before Sharn, and then I'm going to show you what I came up with after I did Gear Tetris. So, okay. On the Shard of Power, I have Resistance 6, Healing Amplification, Insightful Spell Save 2. The Insightful Spell Save 2 was just something helpful to put there. There wasn't anything terribly exciting else to put there, so an additional 2 saves to spells that will stack with basically everything else, so that's pretty cool. And my beloved Torque on the next slot. Pansophic Circlet, like I said before, wonderful source of general potency. And then the Concordant Opposition Green Seal, lots of goodies on there, including big stacking spell points, 150 stacking spell points, and 6 charisma skills. It says there's an Exceptional 2, Exceptional 4, Exceptional 6. It's just the 6 that counts. Those are the different tiers, and so that's a bonus specifically that I'm interested in is Intimidate and Use Magic Device. But, Bluff and Diplomacy situationally are kind of cool. Okay, the Scales of the Exile, same as last level. This is a wonderful, wonderful set of armor for a caster druid. Insightful Wisdom 3 and Insightful Con 3 are just beautiful. And it's got Parrying 3 on there as well. Really nice set of armor. The big stacking hit points from the Mineral 2 Heroic Green Steel Bracers also has Protection 5. That's pretty cool. Helps my armor class. This is a legacy item. It's a crafted... you can craft everything that's on here now, which is, the Insightful Physical Sheltering 9, False Life 29, Constitution 8. But the fact that it has 2 slots on it, that's what's legacy. So randomly generated loot does not drop with 2 slots on it anymore and hasn't for years. It used to years ago. If you happen to have any, they're worth a ton of shards. I mean, a ring like this could probably easily sell for over 1,000 shards. I haven't priced them lately, but I mean, going back a couple years ago when the new Kenneth crafting system first came out, like these were going for 1,000 shards then. So since they've been out of the loot tables for even longer, you know, maybe even more. But I would venture to guess that, you know, any non-ring accessory that's double slotted could probably go for at least 500 shards, and then the ring at least 1,000. So anyways, it just gives me an extra slot. I don't even really need it. I actually have blank slots, I think, but in any event, I slotted up Charisma and Spellcraft. Okay, level 15 crafted boots, slotted up with Death Block, Dex 8. That helps, you know, reflex saves and armor class as well. And dodge. But I'm dodge capped anyway. Sheltering 19. That affects both physical and magical resistance rating, and Insightful Spell Sight +8, just because there was nothing else exciting to put on there, so that's, you know, 8 more to most of my spell powers. Okay, now we're over to the Blurfinger gloves. Remember, that's there just for the lesser displacement. Big 25%, all on mischance. Just love it. Got the Scald Ring here now. This is affecting my Finger of Death spell. It's got Necromancy Focus 3, Insightful Necromancy Focus 2. I like to use Finger of Death for upper heroics because, you know, you get a nasty champion or something, you just want to get them out of there. Bam, it's gone. Prior to Reaper mode, I didn't bother because, you know, spells like Call Lightning could one-shot mobs, you know, most mobs in heroics just as quickly, so I didn't even bother, because I didn't want to, you know, try to spend resources getting up my Necromancy DC. But I do have a 42 DC. That's not bad for level 15. Not great, but, you know, for a druid, it's not bad. It works well enough. Nothing really else on it. This is really just about the Necro DCs there. So the Thrumming Spark Cord for the big stacking magnetism and glaciation. Also my source of electric and cold lore. This is a new crafted cloak. Got Wisdom 8 on it. Also big Intimidate and Insightful Magical Sheltering 9. I just put a Topaz Proof Against Poison +4 in there because I had it. But, you know, it helps to mitigate a little bit of that poison damage that we're taking from these stupid champions, right? Okay, so that's my gear. Oops, also got the Giant's Platter. This is the same as last episode. And so... this is the other part of the Wayward Warrior set and Seasons of Change set. This has nice Vitality, Protection 6, so that's a little bit higher than the protection I'm getting off the Green Steel Bracers. The Magical Sheltering is redundant from the boots, though. The boots have Sheltering, which affects both magical and physical. Natural Armor 7, so it's a little bit more than I'm getting from my spell. My spell Spider Skin, that is. And then the Wild Flame, which I've slotted up with the Meteoric Star Ruby just for fun. This has Combustion 90 on it, Insightful Combustion 45, Fire Lore 13%, and then Evocation Focus +3. Remember, as a druid, Evocation is by far and above the spell school we care about most. So that's going to be like Earthquake, for example. You really want your Earthquake to hit, you know, as best as reasonably possible. I don't stress about no saves on my Earthquake. As I've said before, if it's hitting most mobs most of the time, that's good enough for me. Okay, now let's see what this alternative gear set looks like. So, the first piece is the Bronze Dragon Scale Plate. And this comes out of the Magma Must Flow in the cogs. And this is an interesting set of armor. It's a gorgeous set of armor. I mean, look at that. Really, really nice looking. It has some nice stats on it. Physical Sheltering 19, which is redundant from the boots. Healing Amplification 30. False Life 29. It's a really nice set of armor. I did the Bound and Attune, put the Alchemical Armor Defense on there. Unfortunately, I don't have a Mythic bonus on here. and that will come into play later when I mention the numbers differences between these two gear sets. But what's also interesting about this is that it's part of the Heruit's Influence set, which is the Sharn Druid set, and you can get a 25 artifact bonus to fire, cold, lightning, and positive spell power, 4 different spell powers, and then a 5% artifact bonus to those lore spell crit chance, and then a +2 artifact bonus to wisdom and +1 artifact bonus to spell DC. So that sounds pretty cool, right? And then the Crystalline Ward is a large shield, and this comes out of Wraith Collars. And this has got big magical sheltering on it. The Insightful Magical Sheltering 9 is something I already have crafted, but I was able to move that around. It's got Quality Magical Sheltering 4, so that's 4 more. Potency 60 is redundant from the Pansophic Circlet, so no help there, Lesser Arcane Casting Dexterity. I mean, that's something we can throw in an augment slot, so that's not a big deal. So it's kind of a neat shield, but just showing this as again as an alternative gearing set. The Celestial Topaz Ring, I'm going to pop on here. This has, I crafted Wisdom 8 on there because it was like nearly finished, and you can use the Sharn ingredients to put, I think it was like Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma on there, so I decided to put Wisdom. The Wizardry 154 is meaningless, parrying 3, so this is now my source of parrying. I used to have it on armor, now it's here. And I also really went for this because it had blurry on it, because in this alternate gear set, I'm not going to be using the blur finger gloves, which has the 25% mischance, so I'm settling for the 20% mischance from blur, which is they're both lesser displacement, and blurry is both a concealment mischance. Okay, where are we? That was, okay, so now switching the trinket over to Resistance 6, Constitution 8, and Insightful Constitution 3, because this is the only place I could fit Constitution. And I lost the Insightful off the armor, and I had Con 8 on the double-slotted ring. I really, really hate having my Constitution item in my trinket slot because it's a swap out for like the Pale Lavender Moonstone. And it's also my resistance item too. So that is one sort of intangible that I really don't like about this separate gear set. Sunstone Gauntlets. This is another part of the Heruit's Influence set. This has Insightful Physical Sheltering 9, so I was able to, I had that elsewhere, so I was able to, change something else out. It's bigger devotion than I had before. I didn't have healing lore before, so that's, a bonus there. Wizardry 154 is meaningless to me. I already had that elsewhere. And again, part of the Heruit's Influence set. And then the third part, the final part of the Heruit's Influence set is the Pendant of the Azure Sea. This has something interesting on it called Sea Attunement. It says, while you are in water elemental form, you gain bonuses to cold spell caster level, cold spell power, and cold spell critical chance. I don't have water elemental form yet, though, so I'm not benefiting from that at all. So maybe I should be using the Pendant of the Azure Sky, which is basically it's the fire version of this. The stats are the same, but for fire spells. But I don't have that item, but I wanted to mention this because I'm using it for the set bonus right now. It's also my source of ice lore for this new set bonus, so that is coming into effect now. And slightly changed Cloak. The new Cloak has Big Intimidate, Spell Save 6, Insightful Wisdom 3. That's where I had to fit Insightful Wisdom since I lost it on the armor. And the Burn Scar Sash, since we can substitute fire for cold spell power, the Burn Scar Sash can give me really big fire spell power, and the fire lore is meaningless. I didn't have acid lore before, but right now I only have one acid spell that I'm using, and that's Enveloping Swarm. Got it slotted up with Master's Gift. So where does that leave me? So oh, and by the way, the Pendant of the Azure Sea comes from this quest I'm about to do, which is A Sharn Welcome. And the Sunstone Gauntlets, those come out of Best Laid Plans in Sharn. The Celestial Topaz Ring. This comes out of Just Business, Sharn Chain 1. And what else? Oh, the Crystalline Ward comes out of Wraith Collars in the cogs. And if I didn't say, the Bronze Scale comes from the Magma Must Flow in the cogs. The Pendant of the Azure Sky, the fire version of the necklace, that comes from Red Rain. Okay, so numbers. Let's talk about numbers. So with this new gear set, I broke down the numbers before and after, and my evocation DC went up by 1. So my earthquake DC went from 45, and it should be a 46 right now. Yep, 46. My Finger of Death DC went from 42 to 44, so plus 2 there. So plus 1 and plus 2 on my spell DCs. My armor class stayed the same, 95. I think I'm 95. Yeah. And my PRR was functionally the same. It actually dropped by 2 just because I don't have a mythic bonus on my armors, but that's not a function of this new set. It's just, you know, the old armor had the mythic bonus. The MRR actually went up by 2, but it would be up by 4 if I had the mythic 2 on this armor as well. So it's really a net gain on MRR. A little bit, not much. My Constitution dropped by 1. My Wisdom went up by 2. My Fire and Cold spell power is up to 403. You see, my Fire spell power is 403, so that means my Cold spell power is a 403 as well because of that enhancement in the Tiefling tree. Okay, so we have a big Fire and Cold spell power, but I lost 2 spell penetration because I'm not using the Torque anymore, so that would affect like the Finger of Death. So my DC went up by 2 for the Finger of Death, but I lost 2 spell penetration, so, you know, it kind of bounces out a little bit. My electric spell power dropped by almost 50 in this new gear set, and I don't have electric lore. Now I could put on the Thrumming Spark Cord and, you know, get that lightning lore back and get higher magnetism, but then my fire spell power drops to 327. So it's just, you know, do I want 2 really good spell powers and 1 okay one without lore, or do I want like 3 spell powers that are all decent? You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. You know, I'm going through this so you can decide, like, you know, if you're trying to do a caster druid, this is going to give you some gearing ideas. I'm trying to do the work here so you don't have to. Okay, what else? Let's see. Positive spell power goes up by about 50. Positive lore goes up a little bit too. Also, my spell saves, you know, the Insightful spell save 2 before. I wasn't able to craft that, but I was able to craft a regular spell save 6, so that's a net gain of 4. So I also lose out on, you know, the Blurfinger gloves. I had a 25% mischance all on there, whereas now I only have blurry on the ring, so that's a 5% mischance loss in this gear set. I also don't have my Torque, the spell point regenerating ability from that, or the proccing ability, so that's painful. I love my Torque, so losing the Torque's ability and the 5% mischance from the gloves, you know, that's painful. I also lost 19 hit points. That's not that big of a deal. But, you know, in the end, you know, what I'm gaining, you know, plus 1 to my Earthquake DC, plus 2 to my Finger of Death DC, you know, higher Fire and Cold spell power, but I'm giving up some of my defenses with this. So, you know, either way. Either way. But I wanted to mention those items. And a couple other items I had set aside I thought I might try to work in, but didn't. The Dusk Lenses. This is a really nice source of general potency. Almost as good as the Pansophic Circlet. So potency 60, insightful potency 30. That's just slightly lower than the Pansophic Circlet. So it's potency 63 and insightful potency 31 here. So that's just a difference of 4. But this also has quality potency 8, so that's a difference of 8 on the general potency side. Or, excuse me, a difference of total of 12 on the general potency side. So not a big deal. there. The magical efficiency on the Pantopic Circlet is redundant because I have magical efficiency already on the Pendant of the Azure Sea. So, you know, you could, if you wanted to use different headgear, you could use the Dusk Lenses, and you know, the efficient meta magic and power and maximize are pretty nice. Another interesting item that could be worked in your gear set is the Shattered Onyx. This also had the nearly finished property on it, so I was able to craft Insightful Wisdom 3. I was going to originally try to use this to replace the Scald Ring, and this was going to be my source of Insightful Wisdom 3. It was expensive to do that, and now that I'm not actually using this, I'm kind of irritated that I did it, but can't take it back, right? But it has Profane Spell Focus +1, so it's a stacking DC to all my spells, so that seemed kind of cool. But, you know, I lost a couple to the Finger of Death, and I gained one to the Earthquake. It just didn't really seem, you know, worth it. The Insightful Resistance +2 sounds cool, but actually it doesn't stack with Parrying, which is also an insightful bonus to save. See, it says Parrying 3. This item enchants the user with incredible awareness and speed, granting 3 insight bonus to AC and saves. Doesn't stack with an insight bonus to save. See? Watch. I'm going to take it off. Watch my saves. Look at my Fortitude save. 42. And still 42. Oops. Sorry. Wrong item. Okay, now the Shattered Onyx. See, the Insightful Resistance. No change. Just showing you that that doesn't stack. Okay, and the Insightful Dodge, I'm already dodge capped, so it doesn't matter, right? See, 6% chance to dodge, dodge chance max 6%, so the Insightful Dodge does nothing for me. But if you were like a robe-wearing caster, that would probably be a lot more important item for you. A traditional caster would probably definitely want this. Probably definitely. Alright, enough about the freaking gear. By the way, the Shattered Onyx ring comes from Reach for the Sky end chest. And the Celestial Topaz ring, or the Dusk Lenses, comes from Thralls of the Fungus Lord, one of the Cogs quests. Okay, where are we? Feats. Level 15. What was my level 15 feat? I took Empower Healing. Give me 75 additional spell power when casting positive spells. On the spell side, got level 8 spells, so net means Earthquake. Oh yeah, I love my Earthquake. Isn't such a wonderful spell. Great crowd control spell. It's basically a reflex save, so lots of mobs don't have good reflex saves. So you don't need an uber DC for your Earthquake to be very effective. And sort of like I said, my just general bar is if I'm dropping most mobs most of the time, I'm happy. I don't stress about getting no save. If you're a more, you know, traditional true caster druid, you might want to get your DCs higher than mine, but I'm just looking for good enough. And I also have Finger of Death. I was using earlier on in some other quests, when I took level 15, I was using Sunburst. You can see I still have it loaded up in my buff bar, but I don't have it memorized anymore. I'll pick it up next level. But I love having 2 Sunbursts to just ensure that that blinding hits, and I turn Maximize and Empower off for the regular version, just to save spell points. You know, it does some damage, but you know, it costs a lot of extra mana to maximize and empower it, and really I'm just going for the blinding effect by casting that second one. And I do have, of course, the SLA version with them all metas on. I think that's it to mention for the spells. Reaper Trees at level 15, you can get your tier 3 innates. So I got a point of dexterity, point of wisdom, and a point of constitution. Those are always on. Remember, tier 2 through 6 always on for the innate line, not the stuff up here. The rest of the stuff up here and tier 1 only goes into effect in Reaper mode, but tiers 2 through 6 and 8 are always on, even when you're not in Reaper mode. Very, very cool. Quests. What have I done? There's so many level 15 quests now. I haven't even done any of my regular ones. You know, I've been doing Sharn. You know, so I did Sharn Chain 1. You know, Just Business, Red Rain, same old song. I also did Wraith Callers out in the Cogs. Best Laid Plans, Chain 1. Sharn Welcome. I also did the Magma Must Flow because I wanted to get that armor, and that's level 16. So you see I'm well into level 16 right now. I'm rank 78. So that's what I've done. We're going to do Sharn Welcome. And let's not get too ambitious. Let's just try our 4, see how it goes. That last, when I did the R5 memoirs, that was painful. It took me so long. It was fun to see if I could solo it, but it was really long. I don't expect this to be particularly quick. These Sharn quests, a little bit tougher. Newer content tends to be tougher than older stuff. So we'll see how we do. Carnage Reaper. What is going on with these guys? They just like stuck at the table? Seriously? Let's throw a finger on that guy. Oops, wrong button. And he saved. Damn. Let's try again. Once we get water elemental form, then we'll be able to, our finger of death save will functionally go up. And he saved again. Damn. Nimbin just got on. I'll be grouping with him after this. Probably start at the live stream. Hey, we landed a finger on that guy. And that guy. Obviously, if you're with a group, your earthquake knocks him down, your party members are beating on him too. Obviously, going to go a lot faster. But it's fun to see what we're capable of. Ooh, there's a champion. Can we finger him? Ooh, he has Death Ward. We'll give him the Greater Creeping Cold action. And it didn't even take him out. And stun him. Take some extra damage from our spells. Yep. Running low on mana already. He must have heard me, that's why he gave me a lost soul. Alright, let's go ahead and do Illyri. We're going to need it. The Creeping Cold's going to finish him off. Use a couple of our other clickies while our girlfriend's doing us. Thank you, Illyri. Tried to finger that Arborean, but wasn't having it. Some of the DCs for Sharn are significantly higher, so this is, you know, a learning experience for me. I know, you know, I'm really curious to see, like, is my Earthquake going to be effective when I get to legendaries, and so that's going to be one of the deciding factors, whether or not I try to go for, like, the legendary Druid set, for example. Finger that guy. Carnage Reaper on us, so I hit the Winter's Heart to get us that temporary hit points there. Two lost souls, I like that. In Fire Elemental form, we have big 65% fire absorption, so we got some exploding spiders here that might give us a hard time. I'm just going to hit that lever and go, and whatever follows us can die, and if it doesn't follow us, it gets to live. That's the deal. Oh, the muscle didn't get fingered. Carnage Reaper. Well, let's do a displacement scroll. And our temporary hit points. He's bouncing all around. Let's see if we can survive it. No sweat, Ace. Okay, I think it's just the end fight, right? Let's go ahead and pull out a summons. This is an item that I didn't mention, the level 15 item. This is the Shard of Zoria, a very common drop out of the end chest from Sane Asylum. And this is a really nice, has 3 clickies on it of summon Zoria Horror. You can get like a, you know, a render here, you can get a beholder. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for right there. Might as well buff him, right? We got some mana. Yeah, we don't mind having a beholder on our side. So it's a fun, you know, it's a fun clicky, and that's a, uh-oh. You know, having a little beholder fighting with you during heroics, that's pretty cool. We hit him with the Greater Creeping Cold. Let's just see what it's ticking for there. Couple hundred. And you saw me go through the whole resting animation and not get the rest. Isn't that irritating? Okay. Stone skin is coming off of a clicky from our green steel bracers. Oh, I just did the sleet storm. I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Let's give him all 3 of our dots. Greater Creeping Cold, and Enveloping Swarm. We'll do the same thing for this clown, who's actually not a clown. He's a dinosaur. We'll keep the Earthquake going. We'll do our temporary hit points. We'll see if we can finger that guy. Nope. We'll just have to finish him off with the SLAs. And redid the displacement, and I'm gonna redo some dots on these guys and try to finger him again. Got him this time. And another Earthquake. He's blinded. He doesn't know what time it is. Hey, who's that over there? He was charmed, or something, but now he's dead. Okay, let's hit our Reaper spell power. We'll hit him with all the dots. One of them apparently missed because it said I wasn't facing him. Screw you, facing mechanics. You know, it's like I've said, this build was not intended to solo, but it can solo if you want to with it, but it does so at a modest pace. But you can see the defense. I really like playing, high defense, just kind of taking my time. R4 solo, no big deal. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. As always, if you have any questions about my build, you can respond to my build post in the Druid forum. And if you have any questions about my videos, you can respond on YouTube. And now he's going to make us fall down into the cogs, because this is going to fall out from under us. If we want to get out quick, we can teleport out quick, right? Or we can just hit our little Sharn boarding pass and go right back up to the Clifftop Tower District.